and sometimes my predictions are off. I was right when I told you back about 8 months ago. Sarge told you that they are going to hold off on a rate cut until the fall because when they start throwing those rate cuts in, it's going to stimulate things in the economy and it's going to look really good immediately prior to the election. I told you that was going to happen and it's coming this week. All right. So I was right about that one. Sometimes my predictions are a little bit off, though. I predicted that when school started back up, that these riots, the protests, these peaceful protests would start back up, and that we would be seeing a situation where, like, it immediately picks up where it left off in the springtime when the universities mostly closed down for the summertime. So we're going to dig into that one today. I have some theories about why things haven't really turned out the way that I thought they would when college campuses went back to school. I got some thoughts on it. We're going to dig into that, and I want to go over a couple things here first. So, I got a few announcements, of course. On Sunday, I am releasing my video in the 30 Days of Preparedness collaboration. That should come out around lunchtime on Sunday, and it is about hurricane preparedness. So please check that out. And even if you don't live in hurricane-prone areas, there's some information in there that I think will be helpful for you for other storms, power outages, and things like that. It really is going to apply to any kind of power outage if you want to think about it that way. Okay. Wayne, it's good to see you. God is great. It's good to see you. Yep, notifications aren't going out again. Not surprised. Not surprised. That's been the way I've been getting treated. But you know what? It's okay. We'll get some people here, and because everybody knows this is my time, and it's not really about getting hundreds and hundreds of people here. It's about connecting with the audience that shows up every Friday, because you guys mean a lot to me. You mean the world to me, actually. So for those popping in right now, Lazarus, we're going to be talking about the protests and like what happened to these spring protests, right? These campuses were like out of control in the springtime, and all of a sudden things have seemed to quiet down. So I'm going to dig into that. I got some theories for you. Couple other announcements. My course is still free at Vargold. In fact, I'm going to go ahead right now. I'm going to drop a link to that in the chat. I don't know how long this is going to be free. I do encourage you to take advantage of it. This is, and there's other courses on this website as well. It's not just me. There's a lot of survival instructors that are participating in this one. My course is about managing stress in an emergency. So as of right now, it's free. I don't think it's going to be free forever. So I'm putting that link in there. Go take advantage of this website while everything's still free. Okay. What else? Georgia Bushcraft tickets are still available, as far as I know. This is the largest bushcraft gathering in the United States, possibly in the world. And it is a great time. This is going to be like my third or fourth year going. There's all kinds of vendors there that make products for survival, bushcraft, preparedness. There'll be a lot of influencers there, such as myself, that I would love to meet some of you. If you're there, if you're going to be there, just shoot me a message, let me know so we can meet up. There's going to be some fantastic instructors there, some of the best instructors in the world. I've taken classes with people like Carly Fairchild from the show Alone, Dr. Mark Merriweather Vorderbruggen, who's written foraging books that I link one of those in the description down below. It's actually my favorite foraging book. Some other ones, Bushcraft Kelso, I think, is teaching a class this year. So you really don't want to miss this. It's a really awesome time, and it's a really affordable price too. So it includes your camping for the weekend and all of the classes, except for like a couple of the classes have materials, so you have to pay a little bit extra for that. You can bring your own food in, but there's also some food vendors there. It's a good time. I really encourage you, if you can get there. It's in like near the beginning of November. Check it out. So I'll put in the link in the description right now. Thanks, Lee. Thanks, Steve. It's good to see you. Appreciate you. Lee, thank you for joining. Food Forest Permaculture. How you doing tonight, Howie? All right, a couple other quick announcements before we dig into this topic. Let's see. There's a poll at the top. Definitely go and vote in the poll. The poll question for tonight is: do you support should store owners, shop owners, be able to defend their property from looters? Specifically, when a riot's happening is when I was thinking about. But you could say in general, should they be allowed to defend themselves from looters? So I would say, well, I don't want to, you know what? I don't want to influence you. Maybe I'll give my opinion on this later on. Maybe I'll give my opinion on it later on. So go ahead and vote, please, so I can check that later. And I think down in the description of this video, there's some links for discount codes for products that I think you'll like, products that will help you on your preparedness journey, and some discount codes that will make those things just a little bit more affordable. A lot of times I get a little commission off that. It's one of the ways you can help me support the channel. I don't make a lot of money on this. I'm a small channel, but the little money that you do help me get usually goes to things like when I can travel to Georgia Bushcraft, where I'm going to film stuff to share with you, or it goes into giveaways. And by the way, we're getting close to 6,000 subscribers. So if we can, here's what I'm going to do. Here's the challenge. If y'all can help me get to 6,000 subscribers by, we'll say, I'm going to give you the date right now. Let's say December 27th. It's the last Friday of the year. But if you can help me get to 6,000 subscribers by December 27th, the last Friday of the year, then I will give away some Amazon gift cards, okay? And we'll talk a little bit later on if you guys want me to do one Amazon gift card for like $50 or 5 for 10 or whatever for $10 each. We'll figure that out. But that's the goal, 6,000 subscribers by that last Friday of the year, okay? And let's see, thank you for moderators who show up and help me out with this. We don't usually have a problem here, but just a reminder to people who might be new to the chat, please be respectful to the moderators, and please no racism or sexism in chat. If you're watching this on the replay, please no racism or sexism in the comments. I usually go back in and check all that stuff, and if I find stuff occasionally, I just delete it, so you're not going to get the attention that you're looking for anyways. And I've had to ban a couple people from the channel for just being like just outright toxic and mean to other people in the comments. We can disagree, we can have disagreements, we can have debates, but just treat each other with a little bit of respect. That's all I've ever asked for this, okay? All right, so moving right along here, and I do see some chat. We're going to check in with you, chat, in just a second again. One of the things, so I know everybody's watched the debate this week, and that's like the big topics. And the pets in Springfield, Ohio is a huge topic. Now, I just want to weigh on this real quick. So number one, you all know what I do for a living. I work with people with mental health issues, and currently my main population is first responders, but I've not always worked with that population. I've worked with homeless people. I've worked with prison release people. I've worked with kids. I've worked with people on the autism spectrum, all kinds of different things in the course of my career. I've been in this field for a long time. I will tell you that yes, people sometimes do eat pets. People sometimes do eat ducks. People do sometimes eat geese. I've worked with homeless people that was how they were surviving to do that. So do I doubt that this has happened? No, I don't doubt it. Is it widespread? I don't know. Right? So like if it's widespread, then it's on the people who are seeing this stuff to get some footage and put it out there on social media to prove it, because now people are saying like, yeah, this is funny, ha ha ha. It doesn't really happen. Well, I'll tell you, it does happen. I just don't know if it happens on a large scale. So if you're in one of these communities where this is happening, then the onus of responsibility is now on you. Get the footage, put it out there. So if in fact it is happening on a wide scale, make a fool of all these people who made a fool of you. That's how you solve that problem, okay? And it's as simple as that. It really is as simple as that. On a related note, on my drive home yesterday, I actually saw, I know where a lot of the homeless people live in my community, and sometimes I'll bring waters and stuff like that. It's actually been a while. I probably need to do that, or canned goods, things like that. I kind of know where they are, so I'll leave it where they're going to find it. I saw actually a homeless person foraging plants on my way home, which I thought that, that is awesome. That is a true survival skill. And I'm blanking on the name of the tree that he was foraging from, but I know it's a tree that's flowering this time of year, and I know that the flowers are edible because I've researched it myself and actually covered it in a video a couple of years ago. So as I was driving home, I saw him and he was basically putting it in his bag. And then as I looked, he was looking along the ground for probably like wild lettuce and some other stuff like that to also forage. So because this happened while I was at a stoplight. So great survival skill. We can learn a lot from homeless people, right? You shouldn't jump to conclusions and judge them. They know where there's places where you can get shelter. They know a lot of times they know where they can get free food. They know the pathways around your city that other people might not know. You know, like power lines, pathways, and railroad tracks, pathways, things like that. They're very, very resourceful, and so if you do talk to the homeless people in your community, you know, maybe you could learn something from them. Just something to think about. You know, pray that something like that never falls upon you, because it can. You know, like we're all a couple incidents away from having our lives flipped upside down. Just be aware of that, right? And a lot of people out there, a lot of the people on the streets, are struggling with severe mental illness and things like that. So sometimes there's good reasons why people are living that lifestyle. And sometimes people choose it too. I've had that too, where people didn't want an apartment. They didn't want to live inside. They preferred to live in a tent in the woods. That was just the lifestyle that they chose, right? So it's not always like an issue where everybody out on the streets is mentally ill. Sometimes they're just like they don't want to to pay taxes. They don't want to pay rent, and they choose to do that. So I know that sounds weird. I prefer to have a house myself. I'm just telling you the realities from somebody who's been on the front lines working with people in that community. All right, let's check your chat, and then we'll go into our topic. And remember, if you guys have questions that you really want me to catch, throw those in caps. It helps me out a lot, okay? All right, Maccabees, thanks on the moderation. Appreciate you. Cold Hearted Bastard, thank you for joining us. I love that name. That's great. Tuck, thank you for joining us. Let's see. Tuck says it happens in the county south of mine, even reported. Yeah, so I mean, if it's happening, get some footage of it, guys. That's the only thing I can say. Scorpion's always good to see you, my friend. Maccabees, good to see you. Morgan, how you doing tonight? It's good to see you, my friend. Congratulations on the addition to your family. I've been following all that. Super happy for you. You are a phenomenal mom. And actually, Morgan, I was going to reach out to you soon. I'd like to see if we can set something up, get you back on the channel again. I'd totally be awkward. Like, yeah, let's be back. Yeah. I know what you're saying. And be careful too. Like, if you know, some of these communities are also very, when I talk about communities, these homeless communities, are very protective. And if you're an outsider coming in, just be aware that they can be very suspicious. So when I used to do that, like a lot of times I would say, hey, listen, I'm not the police. I'm not here to disrupt you. I'm not here to give you a hard time. I'm just here to donate some food. You know, I'm here to bring some food and water for you. So be careful if you're going out to like some of those tent cities and stuff like that. Cabbage palm. All right. Dog is. So yeah, I mean, I'm never gonna do that, Howie, unless I was absolutely like starving to death and it was my only option. I can't imagine myself ever doing that, but I know that in some cultures, dog is food. I know that. Um, I've eaten other things, you know, like a lot of people in the chat here. I've eaten squirrel. Um, I didn't really care for it, but in a survival situation, yeah, I would do it. So Scorpion, yeah, I know that happens too. I have worked with a few who were very good at panhandling, and they were making a lot of money at that. And if they talk to you in private, some of them would tell me that they were making upwards of $100,000 a year in cash, non-taxed, by panhandling. The What I was told, I'm just sharing what I was told, right? So don't get judgy on me about this. One of the girls that I worked with, she was a young girl and she was cute. She was a cute little girl. And she told me, yeah, the tent city people, the community that I'm with, they have me go and panhandle because I'm young and cute and I'm a girl. I can make a lot more money than them. And then we all pool our money at the end of the day and, you know, we buy whatever we need. So, yeah, some of them do make good money doing it. It's a true thing. Yeah, I see. I got a couple people popping in chat. Thank you, mods, for handling all that. I'm sure it'll straighten out over time. Appreciate you all for the work that you're doing. Yeah, that is my Tom Brady shirt, or as you say, Tom Baldy. How you doing tonight, Nicole? Mainly two species planted for couch palm the same. Okay, just reading your comments here. Yeah, Morgan, that's happened to me too. A couple times I've found people who were like passed out in the bushes and stuff. And one time when I was really young, like I was in my 20s, I called 911 on this person. They showed up and they're like, "Oh gosh, him again?" And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "He just falls asleep in places. He's fine." And they tapped him, and I was like, "Okay, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing." So then a couple other times I've run into people that are like passed out, and I just kind of tap them on their foot and be like, "Hey, you okay?" Until they start murmuring. Then I'm like, "All right, just making sure you're okay." Because I don't want to like pass up somebody who's dead and like later on find out, read on the news that a homeless person was found dead at this location and I didn't do anything about that. I'm way too sensitive for that, and I would have a really hard time with that. Um, I've never had kangaroo, but I've never been to that part of the world. I have had ostrich. Ostrich actually tastes really good. And of course, I know there's some people in the chat who are hunters. Elk tastes really good too. Yeah, it happens, Scorpion. I know. I know. Yeah, I do too. I get weird looks from people when I'm foraging as well. People, I just kind of laugh and say, you know what, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just out here doing my thing. And, um, most of the time, I know what the wild edibles are. The ones that I eat are the ones that are like really choice edibles, like dewberries, chanterelles. Like, so there's a lot of stuff out there that it's edible, but it's not really necessarily something I would choose unless I was in a survival situation. But some of the stuff's really good. Like dewberries are basically the same thing as blackberries, or they're very similar to blackberries. And persimmons are really, really good. Trying to think of some of the other ones. Obviously, chanterelle mushrooms are really good, and some of the other wild mushrooms are really good. So there are some choice ones that, yeah, I will forage and eat those, but a lot of times I just kind of, I'm looking at it and identifying it and kind of practicing those skills, and like, okay, I'm gonna remember that I saw this here in case I ever need to come back here. Beauty berries, actually, if you make a jam out of them, are really good. Yaupon is really good for tea. I like it. Some people might not, but to me, it tastes a little bit like green tea. So I actually have some dehydrated in my cabinet right now. So you can dehydrate that, put it in a mason jar, put it in a dark cabinet. It stays good for a really long time. And then you've got caffeinated tea if you need it, like if you run out of coffee or something, because coffee's better. Yeah, I don't mind the weird looks, guys. It doesn't bother me. Food forest permaculture, you do a ton of foraging. I've seen you do it in your videos. I smile and wave. There you go. Orlando Preppers, good to see you. I hope you're having a good Friday. All right, let's get into this one. So what happened here? What my prediction in the spring was that when the schools resumed, we would have these wide scale, not so peaceful protests stirring back up, occupying buildings. And that just really hasn't happened on a wide scale. Yes, there are some small protests going on. Yep, I'm aware. People have been telling me about it. I get it. But it's not like it was in the springtime. So what happened? Well, I have some theories on it. And obviously, the biggest issue that a lot of these protests was around the Israel Hamas conflict. That there were people who wanted the United States to end its involvement in that, in terms of like how we support Israel. That was the biggest issue. That's still going on, right? Like that war is still going on. So where are the protesters? Well, my primary theory, and I'm going to get a little bit conspiracy first, but then I'm going to give you some other stuff that I did find out. But my primary theory is that these things, you guys know, there's always been reports that outside instigators, professional agitators, and I did a stream about this a couple months ago, so you can go back and watch that if you want. Professional agitators come into these situations and they get people to do things that they wouldn't normally do by group psychology, right? So there's this thing that's called broken windows theory, right? How this works, basically, there's different variations of interpreting this, but one of the interpretations of broken windows theory is if there's a group of people gathered around and they're real angry, and I come along and I smash a window and nobody does anything about it, nobody arrests me or anything like that, there's a group psychology that goes along with that that says, oh, There's no consequence. It's game on. We're going to get us some Nikes. We're going to get us some iPhones. We're going to burn this building over here. We're going to do this. We're going to spray paint. And there's no consequence to this, right? That's broken windows theory. And professional agitators are aware of this. It's straight out of the PsyOps playbook, guys. This can be used to instigate insurrections and coups in other countries, and probably has, if you remember back a few years ago to some stuff that was going on in another part of the world. Probably we had some involvement in that, would be my guess. Can I prove it? No. Do I know anybody that knows anything about that? No. But it sure is a suspicion of mine. I think these people, these professional agitators, are standing down. They're under orders to stand down because we're so close to this election. That's what I think. And I think because you got these college kids out there that are still doing these protests and they still feel strongly about this. And by the way, whether or not I agree with you on this particular item, I do support your right to a peaceful assembly. I do support your right to protest. I do support your right to free speech. I don't support violence. I don't support occupying buildings, burning things, spray paint, looting. I don't think any of that is what is a peaceful protest. And I do think you should face legal consequences if you engage in those activities. But I think that the professional agitators that go in there to these communities of college kids and we're instigating them in the springtime, they're not there, so it's not escalating to that level. They are coming back. And I think when you're going to see them back is when this election is over. Okay. However this goes, and it's still going to be close, right? Like I think right now it probably looks like Kamala is going to win, and she might. But it is still, a couple weeks here before this thing, before most people vote. There's some voting has already started, but there's still a couple weeks here, and there's a lot of things that are going to happen, and so it could change. It's going to be a close election, probably closer than we all think. And then sometime after that's all said and done, you're going to see the violence kick up again. Okay. That's my thoughts. You can let me know in chat if you disagree with me. And if you're joining in right now, don't forget there's a poll up the top. I would like you to vote in the poll, please. And the poll question is, do you think that shop owners, shopkeepers should be allowed to defend their property when looting is happening? Okay. So before I go back to chat, I want to cover a couple more things here. So, I know this is true. I've got good reliable sources on this. A lot of the universities, because of what happened last spring, have really tightened down on this. And some people were held accountable with charges, not allowed to graduate, things like that. So there was some repercussions from some of the most extreme cases. And the universities, from what I understand, have made it clear to the student body, not again. We're not doing this again. If you do this, there's going to be consequences. Okay, so I think that's part of it. There is student groups are. I know this for a fact as well. Student groups are moving their protests around a little bit. So where it was concentrated on the college campuses, sometimes now it's moving to highways or public areas near the school and things like that, so that they could evade the academic consequences, not necessarily the legal consequences, but the academic consequences of their actions. Historically, we had similar stuff going on during the Vietnam War, right? That's probably the closest thing we can compare it to. And we know that some of those were violent, and we know that in at least a couple cases, the way that it was handled was probably too forceful, right? Instead of using pepper spray, people got shot, right? Kent State, things like that. So I don't think we want that if we can avoid it. Like that's not, when people's college kids start dying, like that's going to create a lot of political upheaval. So any politician is going to want to try to avoid that if they can. And so there's that's kind of at play here as well. But I don't know that you're going to get, when these things start up again, especially if it's on the college campuses, I don't think you're going to get a total stand down like you did in the spring. I think they're going to be quicker to act, because I think these politicians also recognize that people have had it, right? So this group of like violent, I'm talking about the violent protesters, is a very small percentage of people. Very, very small percentage of people. The majority of people do not support this kind of action. They really don't. And the politicians have heard from the people like, this will not fly. This will not stand, and we will hold you accountable if you let this go on. So I think there's going to be a quicker response time when this kicks up again. That's my prediction. You might see private securities kind of get involved with this too. I could see that being a factor, that companies, college campuses, and private industries, like if this is taking place on Main Street, these companies might hire private securities. That certainly could become a factor, and there's probably going to be some good money in that for people who are in that industry. I think some universities, from what I understand, are also creating places where people can do these protest activities as long as it remains safe and peaceful, right? And that's the rules. And like basically, if you get violent, if you try to occupy a building, if you damage property, we're shutting this down. And as I said before, I want to say that as far as like free speech goes, yeah, I support your right to peaceful assembly. I support your right to protest, even if I don't agree with your issue, even if I don't agree with what you're saying. I support that. But you can't damage other people's property. Once you do that, it's no longer a peaceful protest. And please, folks, if there's protesters watching this, please don't protest in the street. Your life matters. I genuinely don't want you to become a road pizza. I genuinely don't want, and that's what's going to happen, is that somebody's going to hit you and you're going to either end up dead or with a severe spinal injury or with a traumatic brain injury, and your family is going to have to take care of you for the rest of your life. It is the dumbest way that you could possibly protest. Don't be a road pizza. Don't do that. Find a better way to protest. I really am saying this with genuine care that I don't want to see this happen to you, okay? It is a stupid, stupid thing to do. Your life matters. There is no cause, no matter what you think, there's no cause that is worth dying that way for. It's just not. It's just not. You're throwing your life away. And honestly, we're at a place in this country where if somebody hits you, they're probably going to get a sympathetic jury because people are so tired of this. They're probably going to get a jury that does nullification and says, yeah, he probably shouldn't hit that protester, but the protester shouldn't have been on the road. So you're not even going to get any kind of justice that way either. Don't do it. Don't be stupid. Don't be a road pizza. That's going on a t-shirt. Student experiences. Yeah, I think that word of mouth probably is a factor in this too, especially with some of the discipline issues that have gone on at the end of the school year. People are like a little bit less reluctant to engage in this kind of destructive activity. And again, I think it's kind of on a stand down moment right now. And I personally think this is going to kick up again after the election. Let's check your chat. All right, scrolling back up if I missed anything. Hey, Freedoms, good to see you. I mean, chicken nuggets are good, y'all, right? Chicken nuggets are good. We're getting a lot of, Howie, we're going to be getting a lot of that rain tomorrow. We got a little storm sitting out there on the ocean that's going to be, well, more Sunday. I'm hoping it holds off tomorrow because I want to get out and film a little bit. That's it, Steve. You called it right there. Keeping a lid on it before the election. That's what I think too. Let's check and see if I missed anything. All right, scrolling down. Remember, if you got a question for me, throw it in caps so I can catch it. Yeah, so Freedom, you're right. Some of the polls are showing different things. Here's the thing. Those polls, if they sampled even 20,000 people, it really doesn't matter because this election's gonna come down to like what, 5 or 6 states. So my state, South Carolina, is going to vote for Trump. There's nothing that's gonna change that. Steve's state, California, is gonna vote for Kamala. That's not to say that Steve is, I don't know who he's voting for, right? But his state is going to, all those electoral votes are going to go to Kamala, right? There's like 5 or 6 states that are going to decide this election. So unless the sampling is coming from those states, and even then, like like if you sample a city, you're more likely to get a poll that favors Kamala. If you sample a rural area, you're more likely to get a sample that favors Trump. So take those polls with a grain of salt, folks. I think in the past, think about the Hillary Clinton election, right? Like a lot of polls were showing that she was the clear-cut winner, and that wasn't the case. Broken windows, signs of disorder will lead to more. Okay, so Kanzi says, welcome, Kanzi. By the way, I don't think I've seen you here before, so welcome. Broken windows theory states that signs of disorder will lead to more disorder. A building with a broken window that has been left unrepaired will give the appearance that no one cares and no one is in charge. Yes, you're 100% right. That is the original theory. Interpretations of it have expanded into situations that I was just describing of if you're in a crowded situation and one person commits a crime and there's no consequence for that crime, the groupthink psychology tends to lean towards like, oh, there is no consequence for crime. So yes, the way you said it is 100% accurate for the original theory. Thank you for putting that out there. So Maccabee says Kamala will win because it's been appointed, but not because she's legit. So one thing I didn't watch the very end of the debate. I watched until I had to go to bed because I had to work the next day. Did he ever point out like, hey, there was no primaries, you weren't elected in any primary, so you were just anointed by the Democratic committee? Because I would have liked for him to point that out. That is a legitimate concern. There's some serious legal issues surrounding this election that I think should have been brought up in that. I don't know. Did he bring it up near the end? Trump by 1 in the popular vote. Yeah. Popular vote, not going to matter, right? He might win the popular vote. That's not going to matter. It's because we go by the electoral college. That's what's going to matter here. Disorder leads to fear and the potential for increase to more severe crime. Yes, I agree with you, Kanzi. Thank you for stating that. Yeah, so Wayne, I don't want to believe that. I understand what you're saying. I don't want to believe that because if we get to that point as a country where voting doesn't matter at all, then things are much worse than I thought. I'm not ready to swallow that. So I'm going to vote, and I hope you do too. Yes, he did bring up about the dogs. Yes, actually, if you're on Instagram, I put up kind of a funny reel with that audio. Yeah, exactly, Bacon. Like, I don't know why that question, if it wasn't asked, why it wasn't asked, right? Like, that is a very legitimate question that should have been brought up in the debate. I would have also liked, here's what I'm gonna say. I would have also liked for Trump to ask, how long did you know about what was going on for Joe Biden's cognitive state? Why has nobody asked that question? How long did you know about it? And why didn't you tell people as they were voting for him in the primaries? That's a serious concern. That's a national security issue, right? Did you cover up for him because he's your buddy? Because that's not okay, right? That's so why are no reporters asking that question? Why are no reporters asking who knew about where Joe was in his cognitive state and why didn't you ring the alarm? Americans have a right to know that answer. I got you, Wayne. So, so Freedom, are you saying the points that I'm saying were in the end of the debate? Because I'll go back and watch that last 30 minutes if they were brought up. Okay, all right. So I will go back and I will watch those last 30 minutes then. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, I'll check it out, Freedom. I'll check it out. All right. So let's swinging back to the protest thing. Good chat, by the way. Thank you, everybody. Swinging back to the protest thing. So, as preppers, what are some of the precautions that I want you to be aware of as we approach this election and what I think is going to be some civil unrest? Well, number one, you got to stay informed, and you need to watch your local channels. You need to have your emergency alerts turned on your phone, especially if you're like me and you live in a city. Please turn those on. If you live near a college campus, please turn those on. And because when we had the riots here a couple years ago in my city, those basically were really helpful in saying like, hey, there's an active protest going on here. Even if it was nonviolent, I was like, nah, I'm not going that way. I'll go this way, right? And just kind of knowing like what neighborhoods to avoid is huge, right? And if things start to heat up, most of this stuff goes on at nighttime. If you got business to do it during the day, right? Most of the time, they wait till the sun's down. Dirty deeds are done in the cover of darkness. Evil is done under the cover of darkness. And so, do what you got to do during the day. Okay. Be aware of potential hotspots. If you're like me and you live in a city that had riots a couple years ago, guess what? There's a chance you're probably gonna have riots again. Okay. Where did they happen last time? Pretty good chance it could happen again. Plan your routes around those locations. Be ready to avoid your normal route home if it's going to take you through a hot spot. Have an evacuation plan. If you're like me and you live in the city and all of a sudden these things are moving closer to your neighborhood, have your bug out bag ready to go. Have some cash on hand ready to go. If you're going to evacuate, if you're going to stand your ground, then make sure your house is as secure as you can get it. Make sure you're communicating good with your neighbors and know what your plan is. Know what who's going to come to your aid if somebody's trying to set your building on fire, right? Do you have some allies? Do you have some people that are gonna step up and be there for you and got your back? Or are you just gonna try to go solo by yourself, right? Just think ahead, guys. We've seen how these things can play out now. There's no excuse for not planning ahead. I mean, this is what prepping is. If you think it's going to be really bad, right? Like Baltimore, right? Baltimore and Atlanta, our riots were not too bad compared to Baltimore and Atlanta. If you live in one of those areas, maybe you start stockpiling some food and water now so that if things get really bad and you have to shelter in place, you don't have to leave the house for a few days, right? Maybe you have a little bit extra medications on hand. And by the way, what do we have in the description down below? Jace Medical. We have a discount code where you can order a lot of medications and get a year's supply in advance. Stay ahead of this stuff, guys. This is why we do this. This is why we put these videos out. This is why I've got links to products that I think are important. Make sure you got good flashlights. Power can get cut in these situations. We know that in some situations in the past, these people have basically become domestic terrorists and attacked the power stations and stuff like that. Yes, it happens. Have some good fire extinguishers in your house. When's the last time you checked your smoke detectors in your house, right? Do you have a fire extinguisher in your house? You probably should have a couple, one of which is staged in the kitchen. How's the locks on your doors? How's the locks on your windows? Do you have good cameras? How's the batteries on your cameras, right? Check that stuff now. Check it now. If you have to go out and in the crowd, right? Understand the concept of gray man mentality, right? I keep in my vehicle a black hoodie, right? If I get caught in a situation and I have to leave my vehicle, I'm grabbing that black hoodie and I'm putting it on and I'm going to slip into the crowd and I'm going to weave until I just blending in with everybody else there, right? Because normally when I'm working, I'm wearing like a nice button down shirt. Easy target. Like, let's get that guy, So I'll put the black hoodie on, get out of my car, duck, move, weave, get out of there, get as far to the exit, to the edge of the crowd as I can and make it safely home. That's my goal. I usually have sneakers, tennis shoes in my vehicle in case I need to run. I also have hiking boots, an old pair of hiking boots in my vehicle, right? Have a bug out bag ready, communication plan with your neighbors and your family, right? Does your family know, right? So my wife works from home. We have multiple communication plans for, like, what if the phones aren't working? How am I going to get messages to you? What if she has to evacuate here? Where's our fallback point? Where are we going to meet, right? Who can she go to if I'm not home and she needs a little extra help, right? We have all that worked out, and you should be thinking about this stuff too. Self-defense, right? I'm not gonna, I don't cover this too much on my channel, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. But you should be thinking about your self-defense, whatever that means for you, whatever is within the boundaries of your laws, and you're comfortable with. Okay, you should be thinking about this now, not when the riots start. Okay, I know what my plan is, and I know which neighbors got my back. Mental health, right? I mean, when these things start spinning up, it's gonna be pretty scary. And have you taken my class on managing your calm in emergency situations? That's why it's out there, and right now it's free. Take my class, and because it's free, I'm just going to ask you, please leave a little feedback at the end. I'll link it again right now in case you're just coming in now, right? Put it in the chat right now. Take my class. It's free. Get better at mastering your calmness in an emergency. Teach other people in your family about it. Please leave me a review. That helps me out, okay? It's not costing you anything other than a couple minutes of your time. And the course, by the way, the course is like between 30 and 45 minutes, depending on how slow you want to move through the material. Lost my place. All right, so that's, if you guys have any other thoughts on like how to prepare for this stuff, throw it in chat. I'm going to check your chat one more time, and then I'm going to start to roll this one down. Also, remember, there's a poll at the top. If you're just tuning in, I want you to vote in the poll because I'm going to come back to it in just a minute. And I want you to, the poll is, do you think shop owners and shopkeepers should be able to defend their property if there's looting going on? All right, so let me check your chat. And then we're gonna come back one more time, and I'm gonna wind this one down. Scrolling up. Yep, thank you for all the feedback, guys. Good stuff. Okay, I will check it out. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I just hand up on one party's calls. The other hand, I apologize and tell them I don't participate in polls. Oh, okay. Yep, I gotcha. I used to do though, if they called and they were doing a poll, I used to do it. Unfortunately, I don't have the time for it right now, so I don't even bother with them. Yeah, so that I got to get on Teespring, and I got to do that T-shirt. So it's going to be, don't be stupid, don't be a road pizza, protest appropriately, or something like that. I'll figure out what it's going to be, and then I'll have a picture of a pizza or something like that. Maybe I'll superimpose my logo over the pizza. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a big monster truck rolling over the pizza. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I really don't want you to become a road pizza. I don't. If I didn't care, I wouldn't talk about it. Yeah, if you got anything of value out of this, please give me a like. Thank you, Orlando. Appreciate it. Feel free to share it out if you want to. I don't usually pressure people on that unless it's like I'm talking about mental health stuff, and those videos I do like it when you share those out. Judy May, it's good to see you. I hope you're having a good Friday. Indiana will go red. Okay. He didn't mention it. Okay. Biden was up 10 points at this point. So if Biden was still in this election, it wouldn't be close at all. It would absolutely be a landslide. Just scrolling, looking for stuff I might have missed. Ed Benoit, thank you for joining. Yeah, Ed, that should have been brought up as well. You're right. That should have been brought up as well. She's a hypocrite about a lot of stuff. She put a lot of people in jail for simple possession of marijuana, and not jail, prison for simple possession of marijuana. And then when she was asked about, do you smoke marijuana, she just did her laugh. That should be brought up. Why are reporters not doing this? I know the answer to that. You don't. That's a rhetorical question. Yeah, I hope we don't see riots, guys. I really do. Maccabeus is not a bad idea. He says he carries a black ski mask too. It's not a bad idea. Um, I have in my vehicle. I have it's not a ski mask, but I have the what do you call it? The night watch cap, a black night watch cap. Appreciate you, everybody. Thank you, thank you. I know I missed something there. Sorry. What's a bug out bag? Kanzi asks. So a bug out bag, there's different versions of it, but it's basically a bag that like you fill full of stuff that's like you would need for an emergency if you were gonna grab and go. Now you could make it for like if I'm gonna bug out to the woods, which is fun, but I would if you're gonna do that, I also encourage you to make another bag that is like if you're gonna bug out to a hotel or a friend's house, right? Because they're really are going to contain two very different things. The bag that I have for if we're going to bug out to a hotel or a friend's house has a lot more clothes and a lot more hygiene items and things like that. My bug out bag, which I'm really not likely to ever use in any situation unless there's like Red Dawn. That's more like my wilderness survival stuff. So yeah, it's fun to do that, but the chances that I'm ever going to use that is very, very slim. When I have evacuated here, it's been to a hotel or a friend's house. So think about that as a concept for a bug out bag. And I almost like to prefer to call that like your go bag. So one is your bug out bag and one is your go bag, if you want to think of it that way. And also, I mean, I did do, I've done a couple videos about bug out bags and like survival kits and things like that too. So if you're looking for that, but there's like literally everybody that's a prepper has a video like that. So if you don't want to watch mine, there's tons of them out there to what you could put in there. Whoops, it's scrolling on me. Sorry, guys. Non-combat evacuation order kit. Okay, so that'd be another name for it for some countries. And then you might want to think about also a get home bag, which is a little bit different. That might be something you stash at your work or in your vehicle for you're away from home and you're trying to get back home, right? So that for me, my get home bag has like my hiking shoes, maps, some water purification, and a Silcock key. So if you don't know what a Silcock key is, you can use it behind businesses to turn their water on, fill up your water bottle, different things like that. It's got so a really rudimentary shelter, things like that. So that's more for like some really crazy situation, and I have to walk home. What I would need to get me home. Okay, so that would be called like your get home bag. New York City Prepper, OG Prepper, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you. Yep, Maccabees, I agree. Yeah, worst case scenario, cut up a t-shirt and use that to cover your face. Yep. You're welcome, Kanzi. Thank you for all your participation there today. Wolverines. Yeah, so I mean, like a lot of times we talk about these concepts of like bugging out to the woods, and it's fun. It's fun to fantasize. It's fun to go to learn those skills. You guys know I love bushcraft and survival skills. Realistically, though, chances of that ever happening not huge. If I bug out, I've got locations where I'm gonna go, and there might be some. My closest one is not super close, but I could walk there, and there might be a period of time where I am sleeping outside. So I'm prepared for that possibility. But my goal is not to sleep in the woods and live in the woods. My goal is to get to my bug out location, which is, I'm not going to get real specific on it, but it is a safe remote location with people that I trust. And then we have a fallback location that's further out, and we have a tertiary fallback location that's further out, all of which are the same. They're safe, secure locations with people that we trust and that are in much more rural areas than where I currently live. It can be a camping kit, absolutely. And the more skills you have, the less you necessarily need to put in there, right? So if you're really good at hunting, fishing, and foraging, and trapping, you don't necessarily have to carry as much food. If you're really good at making shelters, you don't necessarily have to carry a tent or hammock system or whatever. Quiet down on the Babylon. Yep, a bra could be used for a mask. Yep. So bugging out to the Everglades, man, be careful. There's a lot of stuff there that could kill you. Yeah, I know they're not. I know that they're not giving those notifications out, Kentucky. It is what it is. I appreciate everybody who shows up here on Friday nights to support. Love seeing y'all. Love chatting with y'all. All right, here we go. Let's close this one down. So again, last chance. I'm about to go check the poll. So if you haven't voted in the poll, now's your last chance. Don't forget to check in the description down below for links for discount codes for products that I think you'll like, that'll help you on your preparedness journey, some discount codes. Don't forget to check out everybody in the chat here. Most of these people are content creators, and I love all these channels. I'm subscribed to all these channels. Bacon usually goes live later on Friday nights. Usually has a really fun stream, so check out his channel. And I'm going to put that link for my course one more time so you can check that out. Take advantage of it while it's free. There you go. Bam. It's in the chat. And you all know. Oh, let's do the poll. Let's go to the poll. Man, I got to go all the way back up. Hang on. All right. Whoa. I'm surprised. I thought that most people would say yes. I had no idea that 98% of you said that store owners should be allowed to legally defend their property from looters. And I agree. Beware of your local laws, though. We're not saying that you can. It really is going to depend on your local jurisdictions, things like stand your ground law. And in most cases, you're going to have to be in a situation where you're in fear for your personal safety. Now, I will say, if it was my shop and 20 people came in with masks on, I'm in fear for my safety. But that's not for me or you to decide. A jury's probably going to decide that if I take lethal action there, right? So please don't take any of this as any kind of legal advice. Know that if I'm on your jury and something like that happens, you're going to get my support on the jury. And there's a lot of other sympathetic people out there in the United States, but there's no guarantees. So you're going to have to be familiar with your laws and obey your local laws and make your decisions accordingly, right? So, but I wish that we had laws that said if somebody breaks into your storefront, that yes, you're allowed to defend that. I wish that was the case, and maybe it is in some states. I know it's not in all 50 states. Okay. All right, that was the poll. Thank you, everybody. And I want to end with something. I always give you guys something positive, something to think about, right? So my question for today, you don't have to answer this in chat. This is kind of like just think in your head. Always be working on yourself, and me too. Always be working on myself. We all have biases. We all have prejudices that are there, whether you want to think you do or not. We all have, you see that person on the road that's a homeless person, and you're like, oh, I don't want to talk to them. Lock my door, right? We all have that kind of stuff going on that it comes from like what you grew up with and things like that, and what's your norms, what you're used to. But when we think about other people, a lot of times we can take that too far. And just because somebody's different from us, we develop this hatred, right? So when you saw the young lady on the thumbnail for this video with the blue hair, don't answer this. I'm just asking you to think in your head. What was the first thought that came in your mind, right? She's not your enemy, right? And nor is, if you're that blue-haired person on the cover, it's not a real person. Actually, AI generated that. And here's the funny thing. I asked AI to generate an angry college student, and that's what AI gave me. So it's an AI generated image. But if you're that type of person, the person with the Trump sign on their lawn is not your enemy either, right? So we have these biases because somebody's different than us, that we think that they're bad, that they're evil. We develop these hatred for them. And I want you to think about that, right? And just realize that we've all been twisted by the media to think this way. And we've been twisted by pop stars to think this way. And we've been twisted by politicians to think this way. But maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't be so angry and prejudiced against that person that looks a little bit different than you or votes a little bit different than you. And maybe you should be paying a little bit more attention to the people that are making you think like that. Okay. As my good friend Maccabeus Everyday Survival says, and he's in the chat, by the way, please check out his channel. This is still America. Please act accordingly. All right. Y'all, thank you so much. I appreciate everybody. Appreciate everybody who participated in chat. You guys had some great chat tonight. Gave me some great stuff to think about. I hope you have an awesome weekend. Do something fun. Get out there. Educate yourself on any topics that if you're still undecided on who you're going to vote for, go out there, research the platform so that you know what you're voting for. Okay. Here's a big one. Don't vote for somebody just because your favorite pop star told you that's who you should vote for. That's really stupid. Like, don't do that. You're wasting your vote. You have a mind, use it. Make up your own mind and base it on the things that are important to you. And I don't care if they're different than me. I just want you to educate yourself and use that brain that you got, okay? Hey, keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.